bags where horror lies.
Welcome back to Body Bags. This is week number 475. This is a theme week, and the theme is shot glass horror. I'll be your host, Jason from Horrific Nightmares, and this week I picked one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and really surprised that this had never been done. And it's a film called The Ugly. Now, this is the exclusive unrated edition. I also own the theatrical cut, although I don't know if this actually made it into theaters, but there is a theatrical and an unrated cut. And the difference between the two is very minuscule, and I don't want to give anything away, so I'm not going to say the difference. I probably should, but I'm not going to. Alright, The Ugly is a 1997 film, which runs approximately 93 minutes, and is written and directed by Scott Reynolds. Now, he was responsible for Heaven, When Strangers Appear, and The Cult. Now, this stars Paolo Rotundo as Simon. He was in Bombshell, The Luminaries, and some TV. Paul Glover as Philip. He was in Snakeskin, 800 Words, and some television. And Chris Graham as Robert. He was in Boy and a bunch of television. Now, this is a film from New Zealand and happens to be one of my favorite horror movies of the 90s. And to be honest, it's probably in my top 30 of all time. Maybe top 20. I'd have to reevaluate that. Like Rob did with his top 100. Okay. This movie is very similar or akin to Silence of the Lambs. The only thing is, I like this movie better. I always have. Now, this is a Trimark film. This was released on Trimark, like Leprechaun, and now I'm blanking. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that were released on Trimark. But it was a popular film company in the 90s. And the rental house I used to frequent, which was Hollywood Video, had an overabundance of Trimark and Full Moon. And that's where I used to watch a lot of them when I was younger. Back in the rental days. This film is fantastic. This actually is about Simon Cartwright, who is a serial killer. And in my opinion, one of the best portrayals of a serial killer on film. The guy does a great job, which is why I don't understand why he's not in more stuff. You have a doctor who has now made a name for herself, and that's Dr. Karen Schumacher, played by Rebecca Hobbs. She was able to get a killer off in an asylum, in a different asylum, and made a big name for herself on TV. Now, of course, this cost her marriage and everything else, but she is now in demand. And Simon Cartwright is considered one of the most dangerous serial killers ever. So, I'm not sure if it's the district attorney. Somebody from the government brings her in order to evaluate Simon Cartwright, to basically get inside his head and get his story. And of course, who better than the hottest thing right now, which is Dr. Karen Schumacher. By the way, she's not bad to look at either, let me tell you. So, she goes into this asylum, and she starts to interview Simon Cartwright. And he goes into his childhood and tells her pretty much his life story, and you're getting flashback scenes of what exactly made Simon the killer he is today. This movie, in my opinion, is brilliant. There is one drawback to this film. It's something I've always disliked about the film, but it doesn't take me out of the film. In this asylum, there are two guards that are complete jerks. And they're so unprofessional, and they take advantage of the patients and they beat up on the patients and stuff like that. And it's just the clothes that they wear. One guy's in dreads and he has his shirt wide open, and it's just like, it just seems very out of place. It's not enough to take me out of the film, but it's something I always wished they were kind of recast. I don't mind the fact of them being villains in the film because of the way they treat Simon Cartwright. I just wish they had a more professional look to them. That's just a personal preference of mine. Other than that, this movie is brilliant. It is not your typical horror movie serial killer film. This is definitely a cut above, in my opinion, and it should be at least seen by everyone. I go as far as to say it should probably be in everyone's collection in some way, shape, or form. But, it's not going to appeal to everyone, but I do feel like it will appeal to most people in the world. So check this one out if you can. It's always been a favorite of mine. I love it. It's not as easy to find anymore. We're actually hoping that since Lionsgate owns Trimark and stuff like that now, that they'll put out a Vestron video with this on it. And if they do, I really, really hope that they put both cuts of the movie on there, because it's important. And like I said, I'm not going to say why it's important. You kind of have to watch the movie and see it for yourself and watch both cuts, because it is important. And you can probably read about it on IMDb if you don't want to take my word for it, but there is a unique part of this film that changes towards the end of the film. And it changes for a reason and what the director was trying to get across. So definitely check this one out. I love it. It's always been a favorite of mine. And if you like what you see in here, hit that like button and subscribe. And until next time, peace.